As apresentações agora desse primeiro período da manhã vão ser em inglês, então, para aqueles que preferirem utilizar os headphones, eles estão disponíveis ali do lado de fora. E eu vou já fazer a mudança aqui do idioma. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day of the International Symposium on Energy. Start the presentation with the invitees of yesterday, the three keynote speakers, and just take it back. We'll have, well, age is coming. Blaž, Likozar, he will talk about electrification of hydrogen storage. We will have Emilio, Nieto, Gallego, present and future of the European and Spanish hydrogen development. And we'll have the speaker, Paulo Sérgio Duarte de Brito, talking about hydrogen application in engine and fuel cells. So please, Dr. Blaž Likozar, please take your position to present.
Hello. Okay. So thank you again for attending. So today I'll be, yesterday the presentation was mostly about the digitalization and how to model chemical energy storage. So today, conversely, I'll be speaking about how to electrify storage, and today I'll be leaning more on some projects that we're implementing in this realm. The latest addition that we are implementing within the Just Transition Fund is probably the most extensive one, weighing about 30 million euros, and it's called the Center for Development, Demonstration and Training of Carbon-Free Technologies. Yes, it's infrastructure, it's training and everything, but the idea is that it's centered on batteries, on hydrogen and CO2 capture and storage. This is the location. It's approximately in the middle of Slovenia, and the idea is to have maybe higher TRL, so pilot to demo rigs for various electrolyzers, PM, alkaline, carbon capture in adsorption beds, in absorption beds, and also conversion in terms of power to gas, power to liquid, and some other processes. So coming now to the projects and how to electrify hydrogen storage. Well, this is where we started off about 10 years ago, or a little bit less, in 2014. This was at the time, let's say, a flagship European project, where the idea was to capture the CO2 at a thermal power plant. Today we know that, you should rather just phase out the power plant and capture CO2 somewhere else where it's hard to decarbonize, like cement or steel. But then again, the story was quite straightforward. So there was a PEM electrolyzer coupling with amine scrubbing for the CO2 capture, and a rather flexible methanol synthesis unit. So what gave us, what was the benefit for us here was to give us the opportunity to look at a kind of non-steady power-to-liquid operation of a reactor at a scale. So synthesis of methanol, but ramping it up and down to basically mirror the operation of an electrolyzer. So when you look at the dynamics, you have the oscillations of the grid, then you have the oscillations of an electrolyzer. You typically have a kind of buffer, hydrogen buffer tank in between. It's not shown here, but the bigger the buffer, the bigger the capex, but on the other hand, the bigger the buffer, the more storage you have, and more you can dampen the oscillations of the electrolyzer. So this was the MEF CO2 story. And nowadays, we're still heavily invested in e-fuels, but we ventured much more boldly into ammonia. So Oracle is first such project where the idea of electrifying ammonia synthesis is by plasma, by induction, and having direct electrochemical synthesis. So hydrogen valleys is a kind of concept I was just discussing yesterday about the Spanish case where they have about 8. Well, in Slovenia, we, for the time being, have 1. Its peculiarity is that it's transnational. So it's in between the north of Italy, Croatia, and Slovenia. And basically what Hydrogen Valley represents is a kind of new paradigm where you are also, in most of the cases, coupling together the actors which previously would not be so intensively coupled, especially energy industry with other energy intensive industries like steel, cement, or in our case, particular of interest also, of course, chemical. Now, going more towards the use cases of hydrogen, where hydrogen makes sense also at the scale. So the energy sector alone typically struggles quite substantially with hydrogen because of its offtake prices. Of course, this will come when the scale-up or the ramp-up of production will come, and of course when the infrastructure will be there. But before there will be, or there are already kind of island type of operations where already there is a solid business case. And I'm very happy that one of those is now, this is the interim project, is H2 Glass. But we have a glass manufacturer, container glass manufacturer in Slovenia, with which we started with hydrogen when it was not trendy at all, maybe in 2012 or something like that, with an electrolysis. They are using the hydrogen and the oxygen for oxy-fuel combustion, providing system services, creating, let's say, about 20% margin on the hydrogen, which they cannot directly cover, but they cover it by the premium of their products. So they have a high quality glass that can easily be sold for much more when it's basically, let's say, decarbonized or defossilized or even carbon negative. The beauty of this is that they're actually, the company is starting to use an electrolysis and hydrogen commercially this year. So it's a commercial, continuous process that will go on and operate. Now going to sectors where there's less premium. So I've mentioned before ammonia, another opportunity that also poses itself directly. If I mentioned before that glass production or any kind of oxy-fuel furnace using process is a natural candidate because it also uses oxygen, also gasification, what Paolo mentioned yesterday. Hydrogen peroxide is also one such example par excellence because the two reactants that you need are basically hydrogen and oxygen. And the way this is done nowadays is you are reforming natural gas, you have hydrogen from there and you have to get oxygen from somewhere else. If you have electrolysis, you're basically producing both of them stoichiometrically, and you can go towards this traditional anthraquinone process quite straightforwardly. And less mature things, of course, are electrochemical oxygen reduction to produce hydrogen peroxide. But this is one of the projects where we're actually going towards the demo case, and like H2 Glass, that's why I'm particularly happy to say so. The demonstration will be in Slovenia, and we are putting it together. Ecoduct is also one such case where the premium is somewhere hidden in the production of chemicals. And I think this was also briefly, not maybe for the refinery case, but for other cases mentioned by Paolo yesterday. So within Ecoduct, the idea is to electrify the process and take care of the sulfur-containing compounds coming from a typical refining process, producing hydrogen, sulfur in between, and then going also towards e-fuels. And this is one of, let's say, quite substantial TRL7 type of projects that we have with Total Energies, and the final products are methanol as an e-fuel and sulfur that can be highly competitive to the traditional Klaus process that we know nowadays. And we're also putting the pilot together, and we'll have the demonstration in Slovenia. So ammonia production, we have a few projects that are kind of, I would say, innovative in a way that are looking at what I was mentioning yesterday, so this decentralized type of ammonia production. And the main innovations are, of course, the intensification, so sorption-enhanced removal of ammonia, but also electrification of the process to have this very fast responsiveness of the process. Yes, so I don't think I need to go again into the details why ammonia is very interesting. It's carbon-free, at least direct carbon-free. It directly couples sectors of energy for hydrogen storage and fertilizers production. And there's plenty of research to be done at, let's say, higher TRLs, 5 to 8, but of course also at lower for plasma ammonia synthesis and electrochemical ammonia synthesis. And Dare2X is another such example when the electrification is by means of plasma. So the idea here is to have an electrified process to couple nitrogen and hydrogen coming to ammonia. And this is how we are doing ourselves, or we are mostly investing in induction-based electrification of processes. Why? Because it's very fast responsive. It can deliver heat to the exact location, as opposed to, for example, joule heating or something like that, or even plasma, which is difficult to manage. In terms of induction, if you have a structured material, you can heat up very selectively. And of course, with the advent of renewables, you can do this in times of basically 10 seconds or something like that. Of course, also projects where hydrogen is going to very diverse sectors. So Reveal is basically aluminum and aluminum oxide leveraging. It's a kind of aluminum cycle that we are using here to have long-term seasonal energy storage, of course with and partially without hydrogen. And of course, various sectors, as I've mentioned, the Dynamine is a project which looks at the use of hydrogen for the defossilization of mining operations. And here there's a few, let's say, pilot or demo mines all over Europe, graphite, one is even in Portugal, Felmica. And the idea is to have defossilization of everything from mining equipment to mining transport. We are also one of the coordinating regions in the Vanguard Initiative pilot, together with Malopolska and Lombardia. And it's not a big financial thing, but it's a kind of liaising with other hydrogen initiatives like Hydrogen Europe and Clean Hydrogen Partnership that is nicely fitted to Vanguard. Well, the typical question of many people is always, do we always need hydrogen? Of course not. Hydrogen is typically the last one in line where we don't have any other options. The direct electrification is always the right way to go. It's typically also much more efficient. And I'm mentioning this because actually, again, Slovenia is very small, so we don't have many of the innovation fund type of projects. And we were very happy to find out that ours with the glass company was actually the first one, and it dwells on hybrid furnaces where you do as much as electrification as possible with direct electricity instead of hydrogen, but of course you also have on-demand hydrogen. So you can play around with various blocks and put together a business case depending on the availability of electricity, and this also can provide the buffer for your hydrogen that you have. So solid or liquid hydrogen storage is always the best, especially if it's nexus to some kind of production, in this case glass or iron manufacturing. So you could just have a few silos and that's basically your energy storage. Multi-scale modeling I've mentioned yesterday already, so I won't go too much into the details. It's inherently related to all of these processes if you want to know the dynamics at various scales. For this, you need the computational equipment, and one of the computers, the HPCs that was set up in Slovenia was at the time of its build basically the 19th of the top 500 list. So this is something that we definitely extensively leverage in our computations. Since I've talked about various scales of modeling yesterday, and there's just 2 minutes, I will just stop with this. So we've started off with, let's say, also national TRL 3 to 6 projects, and it's very nice that we got our first, let's say, broader hydrogen program that also invests heavily into research, which we are leading at the Institute, and this will boost up also the activities of the aforementioned center that is rising up and has insofar gathered about 30 million euros in capital. And these are some of the companies that are supporting us. With many of these, especially international ones, we also have direct commercial cooperation, which helps us also with projects and everything. So yes, with this I would like to conclude. I think I'm right on time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Likozar. Congratulations for a very nice presentation. I would like to invite then Dr. Emilio Nieto Gallego to talk about the project in Spain, a very nice kingdom.
Okay, that's much better. So today I want to make a briefly summary, because it's quite huge amount of information about how will be the different papers has been published in the Commission in order to push the sustainable solutions. I mean, I'm not talking about only green hydrogen or renewable hydrogen, but also some other measurements that have been proposed in order to advance in the goal to achieve the 2050 decarbonized industry, you know. And also the second part, it should be how this influence into the Spanish strategy. I will give you some piece of information about which are the different movements and the different possibilities we have in Spain in order to speed up the process and try to comply with the objectives it has been already defined. And what is most important for me, for you, even yesterday has been present some projects related with the development of the renewable hydrogen, but how is this project taking into account the rules it has been defined in the Commission, in Europe, and also in Spain, in order to be able to continue working all together as a team to comply with the objectives. At the end, we'll give you some piece of information about the challenge we have in front of us. So strategy. So the Commission loves to have a lot of different papers. The most of them are focused in how it's possible for all the different member states in order to work together, and this is not an easy task, as you can imagine. But what is possible to see is that there is a common movement about how will be in order to force the different strategies and possibilities in order to continue working in developing some of part of the value chain of not only the hydrogen but the sustainable development. So you can see here there is in 2020 a hydrogen strategy, hydrogen roadmap. There is also Fit for 55 package in order to increase all the renewables sources in order to have this possibility to use this as an energy source for producing the renewable hydrogen. You have also some European Clean Hydrogen Alliance who has been rechanged or readjust in order to be more efficient and how to be work all together. And also there are some maritime last papers and some others that is continue try to share to you. Of course, I'm not saying that, but for me the most important is that all of those measurements are not only focused on research like in the past. I'm not giving money for developing different collaborations and different research strategies and projects, but also they are proposing some measurements in order to create new models and new investment and new business. So for me, it's something that is, I mean, it's not completely new, but it's new from the Commission in order to force the different member states to collaborate together and try to move forward in order to link the market and also the research areas. It has been starting the war between the Russian and the Ukrainian people, so it has been coming the problem with the neutrality and also the possibility to be independent in the energy consumption regarding the gas, you know, and this is REPowerEU, so everything has been set in the Commission before. You have to double the different objectives and you have to multiply in the most of the cases by 2 or 3, like for instance biogas or biomethane, and try to use the most efficient process like the heat transfer, you know, and try to continue increasing and multiply by 2 the goals has been defined about the amount of renewables we have to be ready to start with the sustainable process. So it's quite important point because now all of the countries need to rethink again and try to reinforce again the messages and try to increase the main goals they have been already performed. In the meantime, all the people are worried about which are the definition of the renewable hydrogen and which are the clear rules for all of the rest of the people in order to work all together with the same conditions. So I'm not happy to say that it's not the finalized document, but what is clear, this is a rule. So there are a definition about how will be considered renewable hydrogen. Whatever it will be good or not, in you like more and better, but what is clear is that there are a definition, and when you want to say I'm using renewable hydrogen, you know which kind of things you need to comply with in order to have this definition of renewable hydrogen. There are some different principles and different documents about the temporary, about the new installation from renewables in order to be able to continue working on that. So at least there is a common condition, a common ground for all the different countries in the Europe stage, you know, in order to work together and try to comply with these kind of rules at the beginning. There are, as most of you know, the 8th of November, it has been launched the first auction from the Commission. It has been 800 million euros in order to use this to continue push the movement of these projects. It has been put in place in the different member states. It has been announced that in spring of the next year, it should be again around between 2 and 3,000 million euros in the second auction in order to have the possibility for the different projects who are on the borderline in order to be green or red with the business model to go ahead or not. So it's important. It has been a success. We don't have information yet about how many companies has been applied to that, but what is clear is that there are, in all the projects it has been presented yesterday, and also my two colleagues has been already presented to you, some of them are costly projects, some of them are not good advantages from the economical point of view, and this is why these kind of projects who are on the borderline can use this kind of money in order to be on the safe side from the investment. I mean, it's another kind of help in order to comply the different companies with the different propositions you have to go ahead. In Europe, it has been said before with REPowerEU, we have the goal for the 40 gigawatts in 2030. The 40 gigawatts of electrolyzers to be installed along the different countries in Europe. We have, as you can see, all this red. This is around 11 gigawatts who have not owned it yet. So this means that there are some countries who have not defined the different strategies and the different roadmaps, and this is why we have a room in order to increase. Of course, this has been before the REPowerEU, before the war, so we need to think that we need to increase a little bit more this kind of compromise, and all the countries, as you can see later on in Spain, for instance, we have defined in 4 gigawatts, and it has been reintegrated or reassessed in order to increase until 11 gigawatts. So all of the countries will do the same, and we can have around 80 gigawatts in 2030 to be in Europe in order to have enough capabilities for producing this renewable hydrogen and try to continue comply with the different objectives to be set up. And this graph is quite good because I'm not having time in order to explain to you how will be the different scales of the different projects taking into account the applications, and it's a short, medium, and long term. So there are some applications we can do now, and some applications we need to start working all together in order to reduce the cost and try to do the final integration into the final value chain. If we want to talk about how Spain is considered all this documentation, you know that the Spanish love to write papers. The problem is to comply with the goals we define on the papers. But what is clear is that we have a lot of different documents, a lot of different roadmaps, not only for the hydrogen, but also for renewables, also for the maritime application, from the wind, from the auto consumption, and the last one is from the warranty of the origin of the hydrogen, and this is quite good in order to have the certainty that you are consuming the renewable hydrogen as all of us want to have in order to move with the sustainability. Of course, you can imagine like Brazil, you know, we have a lot of sun, we have a lot of wind, so we are in a privileged area from the geographical point of view. So Spain is a country who can be seen as a high renewable potential and capability, also high capability from the different actors, so the stakeholders along the value chain, in order to continue working together to be one of the top level countries in order to produce this renewable hydrogen. We have reviewed our main goal, and you can see all of them are complied with this REPowerEU. So we have to increase and rethink again that the previous objectives it has been defined, it will not be the ones who allow us in order to be online with the different objectives it has been defined. So you can see here we can multiply by 2 or 3 in some of the cases the amount of renewables, the amount of how will be the integration of the renewables into the matrix, and of course how will be the amount of the gigawatts to be installed in 2030. As I told you before, I'm not losing too many time, but from 4 to 11, and you can see here we have a commitment about how is the number of the hydrogen refueling station we need to have in 2030, the amount of the different lines of buses and trains, the amount of the vehicles, not only light but also heavy-duty vehicles in Spain. So we have a lot of things to do, because I can't say to you, because I am the only Spanish, so no Spanish hearing me, but it's absolutely impossible to comply at least with the number of hydrogen refueling stations. We have now, I think, 12, 13, and we have to be in 2030 around 100, so it's impossible. So there are not enough equipment manufacturers in order to allow us to think again to have this equipment. You have to integrate, you have to install, and you have to pay. So it should be very complicated. I will say that if we achieve 50, 60, it should be a very high success. This is the moment of the hydrogen. It's not only in Spain, but in all the countries. And we are receiving a lot of money from the Commission. It's around 80,000 million of euros in order to be used for making this transition feasible and possible. And you can see this is not only for the administration. This is a public and private partnerships. So this means that the main goal is that there is not enough money for doing everything only from the administration. So we need to convince the companies in order to invest in money, and the rule more or less is 2/3. So I'm putting 1/3 as an administration. I'm giving you the warranty for this investment and how to work with the safety and standards in order you to have the warranty your investment will be in a good position, and you as a company comply this 2/3 in order to continue working and try to decarbonize the different industries. If we can see the projects, yesterday I saw this picture, so I will be quite fast. So in Spain we have 123 projects running now, and the most important is it should be finished around 26. So at the end of 2025, at the beginning of 2026. Okay, we can say 1 year of delay, so we can say 2027. In 2027 we will have 11 gigawatts and this amount of hydrogen to be produced in Spain. What we have to work is how will be the end use of this hydrogen. So the main goal is to convince the company in order to use this terrible amount of million of tons instead of sending to the Central Europe to be used first in Spain and later on with the excess of this hydrogen to be transferred to the European Commission. But what is important for me, I told you yesterday, is we are covering the whole value chain. I mean, for me, it's a good news that we are focusing in production, but not only in production. So we are taking into account how will be the logistics and transport of this hydrogen, and also we are working in the valley concept in order to continue working to a wide scope of the different possibilities. This is the map I showed you yesterday, so you can see some of the projects of these 123, and later on I will try to explain how much different funds, proposals it should be used in order to continue working with us. You have also innovation funds, large and small scales. This is some of the projects that has been integrated in this 123. So we need to use all the different tools you have in the Commission in order to save money and try to integrate all the different funds in order to be most effective as possible. Also IPCI, I mean, you have there are two, one from the development of the technology and the other one is developing the use. So there are 4 projects and 7 projects coming from Spain in order to continue push and move forward, increasing the capabilities and try to increase also the integration and the collaboration between the different stakeholders. You have here a map. So I told you 150 hydrogen refueling station will be impossible to have this in 2030, but there are some organizations who are thinking how will be the distribution of these hydrogen refueling stations in order to have a very good coverage in all the different parts of Spain. It's easy because it has been many, many years working with the natural gas, and it's more or less the same behavior of the hydrogen. So there is a study in order to have all the coverage with the gas, natural gas in Spain, we will need 600 gas refueling stations. So in the hydrogen, it should be the ideal number to have these 600 in order to have this coverage. But this is how it should be the distribution about this 150 hydrogen refueling station in Spain in order you not to be worried if you have a car, a light vehicle with the hydrogen, in order not to be thinking, oh, I have to stop here or I will be in a trouble if I continue working and move again. H2Med. Most of you know in the news, of course the European colleagues know, it should be one new possibility to transfer at least in 2030 2 million of tons to the Central Europe through Spain. We are not saying that this hydrogen needs to be produced in Spain. Mostly at the beginning, yes, in order to reduce the cost, but in the future it could be the African countries send this hydrogen and pass through the Spain in order to arrive to Germany, to the Netherlands, or to the Central Europe. And this is the possibility who are offering to the Commission, and where the project is working with all the TCOs in some of the countries is Portugal, Spain, France, and now Germany are the 4 countries who are working in order to build that. So it's a very huge investment of money, and the good possibility in order to continue and build a hydrogen transportation, 100% of the hydrogen to be safe and to be able in order to have this kind of renewable sources in all the different countries for us to continue move together. If we are making this analysis, the same that I have been done in Spain about the projects with the European projects, taking into account the rules, these are for the projects. You see they are focusing in production mainly in electrolysis. This is the ideal process in order to be used for producing the hydrogen. And what is interesting is that the end of the project, it should be around 2025, between 25 and 26. So this means that we are more or less aligned until this 26, 27, we will not be able in order to see the first test and the first projects already finished and with the different installation and process in order to have this on board. If we see the use and the production, we have more or less covered all the different applications, not only the traditional one when the hydrogen is used as a raw material, but also some of the new ones, like for instance the steel, cement, this is already considered in order to have this possibility for the future. And what is most important is that they are aligned, of course, with the production projects and all of those. It should be end around 26 and 27. This is a picture for you to have the information about how will be the movements in the technology readiness level. So you can see that aerospace will be TRL9. It should be many, many years working with the hydrogen in order to be there. But there are other different applications in order to continue working with these kind of solutions. And to finalize, this is a diagram in order to have the challenge ahead of us in order to continue working in all the different paths. And what is most important for me is the societal. I mean, we need to have this kind of process here in order to convince the people, to explain how is the hydrogen, to explain the added value to be used in the hydrogen, and how this hydrogen or renewable and sustainable developments could help the society in order to comply with the different tests. Hydrogen is not good for all the application and for everything. This should be something that is one part of the value chain. Another part should be the batteries. Another part should be another different alternatives. And we need to know and understand and to have everything developed and to use the best in the different parts of the solution. So the idea is the batteries should be for the light vehicles at this stage, and the hydrogen from the heavy duty. And in the future, we will see, because there are a lot of people who are working in improving the batteries, and also there are a lot of people who improve the hydrogen, and we need to work all together and try to have like a panel, you know, all the different solutions available in the market in order to have this comply with the different tax. And I think it should be the cost. It should be an issue. We need to work with the economy of scale in order to reduce the cost and try to, of course, convince more the companies in order to be able and to be ready to continue working. Now is expensive technology, like always. When you are starting with this technology, you need time in order to integrate and try to optimize all the part of the process. And this means in the future, we'll have this possibility to reduce the cost. And the final slide, it should be the methods. You know, There is a lot of information that the people doesn't know, and this is an obligation for all of us. We need to explain this is not costly, this is not new, this is not a renewable sources, this is a gas, the gas allow you to do that and that. So we have a lot of things to do. This is good because we have a lot of work ahead of us. At least, I don't know my kids, but for me, I will not see the finalization of this kind of transition in the future, but it should be something that we all of us need to be happy in order to be part of these historical movements, you know, in order to have the possibility to be more green in the future. And that's it. So thank you for your attention, and sorry for I'm late.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nieto. Then, coming to the next speaker, I invite Professor Duque de Brito to give his speech.
Olá, muito bom dia a todos, novamente. Vou falar também em português, penso que não justifica. A maior parte das pessoas são, de facto, falantes de português. Então, muito bom dia.
All, and thank you again for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. I'm very happy. Fantastic 2 days that I have spent with you. And yesterday I talked a little about these technologies that we have to develop that related to this renewable gases and the materials. And I will be talking today about the application that we've been working and the perspective of applying this renewable gases from renewable sources. The focus of this work is related to the application in simple applications that could be useful for entities, business entities that have an industry, the certain materials that they manufacture and they want to value in terms of image and consumption. And part of the works that we have been developing, there's a logic in this self-utilization, the consumption of the gas, the hydrogen, methane that is produced in these companies. So there's a perspective here of using these resources that in many times has not been used, and also the aspect of decarbonization of the companies in terms of energy efficiency. This work is closely related to the utilization of the gas that are rich in hydrogen, and we will talk of some applications, especially talking about these fuel cells for internal combustion engines in high temperatures. I will not talk about this very much because Emilio gave an excellent presentation about all the European strategy related to this renewable energies and also this strategy, the guidelines that we have recently, the third guideline. This is related to renewable energy, and we have to put together this necessity of increasing 10 times fold. And there's a big challenge, and there's a big opportunity here. I already talked about this. I'm not going to talk again. And let's talk about this potential of this bioenergy in Portugal. We have this great potential in terms of raw material for the production of biogas, both in terms of this waste and also this cogeneration, and also the agriculture collaborating with the biogas. There's some effluents of waste for the production of biogas, and also Nairobian. And also we have a set of pyrolysis, gasification, in terms of humidity, lower humidity, this waste, more solid waste that can be used. We have a set of technologies, and they have different levels of maturity, and we have been working with some of them in different levels. And I would say this is a summary of the main technologies, biochemical technologies that allow us to produce gases, renewable gases. We have here the first one that are more developed, the process of the Nairobian and the fermentation process that allow us to produce biogas and biomethane that it will be purified later on. We'll talk about this later. And we have other technologies here. And we've been working with these technologies, and we think that in the near future we will have a contribution for the production of gas. And then we have the process of the thermal chemical processes, and we have different levels of maturity. And up in the top we have this combustion processes, incineration. These are processes that allow us to have this valorization process, simply talking about the energy. So we're producing this thermal energy in this case. These processes already have a maturity high level, and they present sometimes a difficulty in terms of an environmental aspect or the sensibility of the society itself. So we have to be careful. And in the Portuguese case, I have told that our big difficulty that we have this is the incineration of urban waste. There are some units that process this incineration of the garbage of the cities, but this is not exactly the path that we should be taking in terms of environmental consciousness. So we have to analyze this gasification, pyrolysis. Gasification, as we mentioned yesterday, there is a maturity level that is a little bit higher, and this allows us to use this waste. We can make this screening of this waste, but there's a good potential here. Pyrolysis allows us to produce not only a gas, but essentially biocharter, a biocoal with different applications. For example, in the treatment of effluents with activated coal, and also in the soils and oils. There's bio oils also that involve the process of chemical process of this having this refinery for different fuels to be produced. We have different other projects in pyrolysis, and there's a reference here of another processing. This is a process of producing coal, and we can think about this as a pre-treatment. Many of the waste have this degradability, and that they don't permit the transportation. And then we have this thermal treatment for the coal, and then we can have some lots of these materials, and we can produce a product that has a higher calorie level. And this is we can understand as a pre-treatment for this solid fuels. Also, we can also use it in terms of heat, gasification, and other uses. Let's talk about 3 or 4 projects that we have been developing. And this is in line with the projects that I mentioned yesterday. And I've been talking about these projects, demonstration projects, the scales with already some dimension in terms of the production of gas. And I would say there's projects that are more centralized. And I think it's important to say that when we work with this raw material, the waste, for example, there's a factor that is very important, is the transportation of these materials. To transport waste is not a good solution. We don't want to transport them, right? So our focus is to work in units that are not in a big scale, but having this characteristics, a smaller characteristic that allows us to have this decentralization of this production. We have a project here that is applied. They received the national fund, and they are having this small unities of gasification. And this company is a company that already work with this thermal production energy, and there is an evolution here of the market. So, and the systems of this dimension, because they are relatively small, and they can be installed in the small or medium companies, and with the perspective of valuing, because part of this waste cannot be burnt or incinerated, so they go for biogas, right? So this allows us to produce or treat 10 or 20 tons a day of waste for many companies. That's interesting for many companies. So this demonstration unit is completely installed, completely set up. This concrete case here, we're talking about this the processing of this kind of materials. We're talking about these materials are, so these are solid waste, urban, and we're talking about plastic with a different nature. We're talking about this residues in these landfills. These fractions are very difficult to be processed, and this unit that we have developed, this allows us to get this material with the pre-treatment process, with this heating process, and to remove part of the chloride that is in the material. And the chloride in this thermal process is an element very negative in terms of corrosion, degradation, and so what we do here is a pre-treatment in the unit that I have mentioned, this heating process with the washing of the material to remove the chloride, and then later on to be processed and the production of gas. In Portugal, we had this Chile X with the waste of that were used, and basically these materials that I have mentioned, and this was used in the cement industry. But the cement production in Portugal has dropped, especially related to the crisis we have in 2011. And we then stopped using these materials. But this is a big problem in Portugal because there isn't a demand or a way of processing these materials. So this concrete project is only a small project that will be using these materials. And you have this process. We have the carbonization, the heating process that I mentioned before, and we can remove a significant part of the materials, the chloride materials, and there's gasification, and the gas can be used in many ways, especially it is a combustion or the production of energy, electrical energy, or other fuels. And the segment of this process, and this kind of units that are smaller in terms of production of gas, it's rich in hydrogen, and it's not only hydrogen, but it's rich in hydrogen, but not only hydrogen. So this allows a more direct application of the gas. The logic of this process, I have a gas that's rich in hydrogen, but I don't want to go 100% to the hydrogen. I don't want to go and upgrade until I can get the hydrogen. So we need a simple application for this gas that can give this feasibility, economic feasibility, so that will be easy to apply the resources, and also very quick without many conversion processes involved. So the idea is to work with just normal engines, gasoline engines, diesel engines, and if we convert this engine to a gas engine, and this is what we want to do is dual fuel mode. This dual fuel mode allows me to use this engine with diesel, but I will substitute part of the diesel or gasoline if it's in a gasoline engine, but I will substitute part of it with gas. So we have a lot of units that we have set up, and they are associated to a conversion process, and this is a unit, and we get the waste, we convert them in gas, we store them, and then this gas is used directly in the engine. And I show the engine again. It's a simple engine here. We have to simply install two equipment. One equipment is this to store the gas. We need a new tank to store the hydrogen, and we need a new tank, and also we need this mixing system. The gas that is produced is mixed with the air and goes into the engine. So this makes the application very simple. We have been working with this tests in agriculture, using in tractors and using in some diesel equipment like tractors and other equipment. And we have been working with this stone mining industry. We have this marble industries. These are very intensive industries in terms of fuels. All the equipment to extract this material uses diesel. So this industry, you have to decarbonize. They are heavy equipment, and to electrify all these equipment is very difficult to these tractors. It's not easy to do this, and it's not practical for an industry to use, for example, an equipment, electric engine motors. And there is a very simple alternative for these companies. For example, these are agriculture companies that have biomass resources, companies that have natural materials like this, and natural stones that are together with these agriculture zones, and having biomass in abundance, and convert this biomass in gas. The gas doesn't need a very complex treatment in terms of upgrading, and use this gas directly in the engine. And we have some results. This is the performance of an engine with gas. We will decrease the production of diesel. We decrease the necessity of diesel, and also we will have the power increasing in this motor. We were able to get up to 50%, and the results were around 35% in terms of substituting diesel with this gas. And we were able to increase the performance of the motor by 50%. We have been installing the systems in tractors, this real equipment, and they have been being used in this in the demonstration scale in using this kind of technology. And when we talk about hydrogen, and if we have the availability of the hydrogen, we we thought about working directly the hydrogen using this strategy. There are dual motors, as I mentioned, that it's a gas rich in hydrogen, but not pure hydrogen. Also could use with pure hydrogen. What is the advantage that we see here? In the future, this internal combustion can work with hydrogen. Yes, that's possible because we know that there are some works being done showing this already. So what we thought in the terms of a transition, especially in countries like Portugal that have a difficulty in terms of investment, we have a very small group of medium and small industries, and they have difficulties to transform or to gather investments. So we thought about these companies being able to use this engines with internal combustion and just with small conversions, and so that they can start using these mixes with hydrogen. This is in reality is a decarbonization factor that is very efficient and can be quickly implemented with a very low investment. And this is what we have been working with this kind of engines with the use of pure hydrogen. They work in a dual mode with just simple gas, but also they can use with this with hydrogen. To end now, they nobody told me that time is over yet, so I will continue. To end, yesterday before the coffee break, and we have some other applications. This is an integrated project. This is a pilot project, and we try to work with the pork industry. And as we know, this is a level of difficulty. The Nairobi question, we have to value this effluents. They have a great quantity of carbon involved and phosphorus and carbon, and it's negative, right? So our strategy was the following. This process is not very efficient, and there are difficulties involved. We to have this treated effluent and with conditions that can be reused later on. We know this. We know exactly that this is difficulty. What we decided to do is to have this different treatment. We have this electrical oxidation processes that allow us to have this third treatment and this biological processes. We have an electrolysis there by doing this, and we have been developing these electrolyzers specific to treat this effluents, and we in fact have patents on these electrolyzers. They have been patented already. It's not a traditional electrolyzer, and this allows us to use with electrodes that are not so clean. And this electrolyzer, this is a technology to produce to have a final oxidation of the effluent, but we are having hydrogen there in the process, and we have this tertiary process. So this hydrogen is collected, the gas is also captured, collected, and all the mud are dry, solid mud. We have this gasifiers that allow us to produce gas. All this gas that is being used in this fuel cells in high temperatures. We have this generation process that allows to use these gases with different compositions, and this is a challenge, yes, but we are working with these fuel cells in high temperature and to allow us to use this gas and have this energy, thermal energy, that would allow us to fulfill the necessities of the plant the unit itself. This is the challenge that we have. We have many industrial partners working with us, and we have these partners that they are interested in developing these mobile units, small units, mobile units that will allow this way of valuing the effluent. This is a problem, and with technologies that I mentioned here, we are looking for a way to change this. This is the process of energy. I'm going to just go forward. And now, really, to end my presentation, this is a project, a challenge. Yesterday, I talked a little bit about this. We have some concerns in Portugal in terms of this academic formation. This is an European project that we are really interested. This we have some more international partners involved in this. This is a vocational training course. These are formation courses that are highly applicable, and another level for the hydrogen. We are absolutely convinced that it's vital the uh, academic possibility of these people. Of course, we don't have anybody coming out of the colleges with complete know-how about hydrogen, but there is this we need this necessity, the technical, we have to form technical staff in Portugal, not only in Portugal, but many other countries in Europe and around the world. We are focused in this academic formation, and this is a project that will allow us to have a very big consistency for this, right? I mentioned this. Thank you very much, and I'm available for questions in case you have any questions. Thank you, Professor.
I would like to invite all the speakers from
Eu gostaria de convidar todos os palestrantes aqui para tirarmos uma foto.
to make questions at this time. Sorry for that. Please use the QR code to send the questions or send them back to the speakers so that they can bring you back some answers. I would like to thank you all the speakers from this morning, and please, I would like to take a picture, an official picture of them, and let's make some noise for that. Well, just some more remarks. Okay, I will switch then to Portuguese again. Nós vamos agora, na sequência, ter uma outra apresentação, né, sobre justamente o painel de discussão sobre as políticas melhores políticas públicas para o hidrogênio. Né, eu peço para todos que
And I will ask you to stay here, and the coffee break will be at 10:30. Good morning. As Professor Roberto said, we will start this panel 2. We will have the discussion of public policies that for hydrogen. And I would like to invite Lucas Ribeiro to come to the table. He is an NL representative, also Ricardo Gedra, representing CCEE. And we will also have Alexandre Leite, representing the Itaipu Hydroelectric Dam. And it's an honor to have you here, you with us in this panel too, in order to be able to understand our plans and routes for the future in this hydrogen aspect. And I would like that Lucas Ribeiro would start with his presentation, and after we will have Alexandre. I would be sitting in the audience, and we will be collecting some questions there too, okay? Good morning. It's an honor to be here and to share the information. ANEL is really concerned about this aspect of the routes that we're taking, especially this development innovation program. And I only have 15 minutes, so I'll try to be brief. Then it's related to this energy transition in the electrical and hydrogen that will be the future, right? And how ANEL will be dealing with this problem. So in terms of institutional, the Brazilian electric system has 4 levels in terms of responsibilities, and the highest level is our National Congress and the Republic Presidency that deal with this concept in terms of the monitoring and also the committees that monitor. And these, they define and they execute these policies. And there's a regulation, that's where ANEL is. ANEL doesn't formulate, ANEL executes these policies. ANEL, not only the regulation, but also the fiscalization and the mediation of conflicts. And in terms of the commercialization transmission, we have 2 actors with this system operator, both in transmission and maneuver and generation. And on the other side, in terms of contracts or financial aspect registration, we have this electrical chamber, CCEE, that there's a representative here, and he's going to be talking about this later. And they deal with the contracts and the payments, and they calculate the credit in debts. And not least but not last, last but not least, I'm sorry. And we have this company that treats with the planning and the short, medium, and long term. The energy transition, what is the motivation involved? Everybody knows a lot about this, right? But this curve in the Industrial Revolution, the transition that we had in the past, the world that used to live with biomass consumption and muscle energy and a little bit of a wind energy with the windmills. And after this, we had the exponential growth of population and the necessity of foods and services. And for the good or for the bad, this growth has been supported by fossil fuels, and almost 2/4 of this primary energy in the world now has been fulfilled with coal, oil, and natural gas and derivatives. And in Brazil, it's a little bit different in terms of energy. There's 45% of our energy matrix, and our rest of the energy is basically renewable. And but still, Brazil has a big role in this. And what is this dependence that we have in these fossil fuels? We have this climate change, the global warming, the oceans, that we need urgent actions and as a civilization a problem, right? And these fossil fuels are buried, they're finite, and with exploitation, they are reducing, and geopolitically talking, they are become more isolated with the higher cost of working with them. And from the 70s on, we check our input fossil. They have been increasing in prices because the reserves have been dropping. And this geospatial and geopolitical term, those countries, they have the control of the production and transportation. They have geopolitical power that is not interesting for other countries that become dependent of these countries, right? So this transition, we mentioned that it has to work on a tripod. It has to be environmentally sustainable. It has to generate the use of the energy in a standard that doesn't damage the environment. But also, we need this energy security, right? Safety, and you don't have this certainty of being able to offer. So you have to be careful, and equity is very important because some people of the society, they cannot feel themselves in with some kind of a negative impact, others not having this negative. So we have to find a balance in terms of what's going to happen, and this tripod in terms of equity, security, and this environmental problem, right? And we have to see if it's feasible, this transition, right? And to assure this efficiency, it has to be feasible, and we have to work hard in terms of financing, and the division of costs will be shared between the consumers that will have to pay for this consumer, right? And also the taxpayers that will have to take hold of the costs of in order to mitigate the impacts of this transition, right?